فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفوته من خلقه وحبيبه قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وأمتنا على ملته واحشرنا تحت لوائه وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا اللهم أمين. We've been tracking the issue of the Muslim unity, what is stopping on our way, and how we can move forward to bring about some unity inside not only the Muslim community in a specific place, but unity around the Muslim Ummah as a whole. We understand that the biggest or the worst point of weakness is our disunity. Not only are we not united, but we are so into disputes, so much so that Muslims are killing Muslims over a dispute of triviality, whether it is politics or land or resources, and wasting our own blood, so much so that I remember in the 1980 when Iran, supported by the Gulf countries and the Western powers, was fighting against Iraq. Iraq is the one that was supported by the Gulf countries and the Western powers for the sake of hitting Iran and so on and so forth. I remember Jim Baker II, the then Secretary of State, was coming out of negotiation in Geneva, and he was very frustrated because neither the Iranian side or the Iraqi side wanted to budge. So in a quick 1 minute press conference, he got one question and he gave everybody one answer. The question was, what is the development? What do you plan to do? What did you come up with? And he said, we will let them finish each other off. We will let them finish each other off. Israel then said, when your two enemies are fighting each other, you sit and watch, you do nothing. I'm quoting because it is important for us to learn from the lessons of our recent history, because it keeps repeating itself, and we, the Muslim Ummah, playing like we are watching a movie that doesn't belong to us. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. It is as if we have surrendered our fate and the fate of the following generations into intrustable hands. You cannot trust the hands of our politicians. They are not elected, they don't represent the people, they don't care to speak on behalf of the people, but they use the name of the people to hurt the people. So I believe the thing that everybody fears the most today and forever, and since the beginning of the history of our Ummah, the thing they all fear the most is our unity. Our unity is the only way forward, and this is why we are giving this issue all the length of time to understand what is breaking our unity. So last time we started to talk about the ayah that centrally defines what is wrong with our ummah. The ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ra'd, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah does not change the condition of a community or a nation or a people unless and until they change what is in themselves. This is the big title that we need to keep checking with. We need to keep presenting ourselves to this ayah and ask, are we changing anything? I mean, to the better. Are we improving in any aspect of our life as Muslims? Are we developing our relationship with Allah in a better way? Are we more connected to the Quran to enlighten our hearts and our heads to move us forward? The Quran is a book that if you do not follow, if you put it ahead of you, it leads you to paradise. If you put it behind you, it will push you towards hellfire. قُلْ هُوَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا هُدًى وَشِفَاء. It is guidance and cure for the believers. What does it do to those who refuse to submit to Allah? وَالَّذِينَ, those who refuse it, it becomes blindness for them. فَهُوَ عَلَيْهِمْ عَمَى. They look at it, it doesn't give them light. They hear it, it doesn't give them guidance, because they are resenting the Quran itself. And it's quite unfortunate to say the fact that our ummah today is very much unlike the ummah that used to be at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It's a given. We have come very close to the Day of Judgment, and I'm not giving anybody any news here, but you look at the signs of the Day of Judgment around us, almost all the minor signs are here. The truthful is told he is a liar, and the liar is accepted as a truthful one, right? The dishonest is told he is honest and he is good, and he is good for your daughter, he is good for your business, right? And the honest is said to be dishonest. This is dangerous. When we flip the coin against the guidance of Allah and we know it, we are dangerously exposing our interest to the most danger it can be exposed to. When we speak against each other, when we as ummah, one country goes to this capital and says, I have animosity with this country, I need weapon. The other country goes to the other capital and says, I also need weapons. Everybody is happy to sell you weapons, right? Whom are you going to kill? Your own people and your own neighbor. This is not only bad, it is insane. It's insane. We understand why our enemies should kill us, because they hate us and they want our resources and they want to control us. But it just is not fathomable. Why should we kill each other? What is more dangerous is we are actually doing it to serve those who are selling us weapons. It looks laughable because the level of insanity is beyond comprehension. But that is our position. And the reason we need to dwell on those issues is because unless we understand how deep the problem is, we will never give it time or effort to think about it, let alone to solve it. So what is the solution for this? The solution is we the people in the Muslim Ummah, everywhere we are, must start living by Islam as individuals, as families, as communities, before we can pretend to live Islam as a nation. We've seen regimes that almost changed in the spring of 2011. Almost changed, right? 2011. And we discovered that they did not really change. They only changed boots and heads and hands. Some of them remain the same, and that's the vast majority, but only change of hats. And we are playing along as if it means nothing. All the sacrifices that peoples have put, whether it is Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Syria, anywhere that there was once something called the spring of 2011, that is gone. And at the hands of whom? At the hands of Arab Muslim, purportedly Muslim nations. Why? Why? Why do we take advantage of each other? Who has the weapons, he has the rule. And then we get Muslim scholars justifying the rule by force, saying that حكم المتغلب, if somebody had weapons and he took the power by control, by force, then it's okay, submit to him. This has nothing to do with Islam whatsoever. It has nothing to do with Islam. This culture of subjugation, humiliation, and manipulation has to be rejected. But let us restate this in the way it should be restated. We must reject this culture of subjugation and submission except to the power of Allah. We should never accept any authority that is not authorized or acceptable by the people. Otherwise, our situation will never change. Allah is giving us the ultimatum, حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم, until they change what is in themselves. Somalia is still fighting Somalia until today. It never settled. Why? Because there are parties from outside pushing weapons, pushing drugs, pushing anything that gets pushed to keep the country fighting itself. We had Lebanon in the 70s. Lebanon fighting Lebanon by divisions of sectarianism, of secularism versus Islamism, of Christians versus Muslims. All of this is nonsensical war. It has nobody's interest at heart. Nobody benefited. Lebanon then was used as a pilot program to divide Sudan. And Sudan is now used as a previous program to divide Yemen again, that was divided also early on. So we have seen the same movie 100 times, and we're still watching it and laughing at ourselves. There is time to change, and the time is yesterday. Missing one more day is bad enough, but we have been missing years. We have been missing years. What are we missing? We are missing up the future of our next generation. Now all of these countries have agreed with the West that the root cause of all problems is not corruption, is not nepotism, it is not political corruption, it is not homogeny of the regimes, it is not tyranny, it is Islam. They agreed that it is Islam. In the conference that was held in Riyadh a few months ago, that was the agreement. We are all gonna fight Islam under the guise of fighting terrorism. This lie, somebody has to speak against it. This is a lie, and we should never accept it. We, the people, did not manufacture Al-Qaeda. We, the people, did not manufacture or support Daesh. We will never do that. They do it, and because of the common thread between all the regimes, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims, because they are all living on corruption, when they agree, we pay the price. And when they disagree, we also pay the price. Why are we sitting like lambs, waiting to be slaughtered? Why are we delivering our next generation as lambs to be surrendered to their enemies and to despotic regimes that will only manipulate and exploit them? What are we gaining by this? We're gaining nothing. So why don't we start changing? Why don't we start changing? It just skips me. I believe we have been desensitized. يعني تم ترويضنا مروضين. We have been desensitized to accept oppression as the norm and to accept corruption as a way of life and to accept helplessness as the status quo that should be. Why are we accepting all of this? Are we short-sighted? Are we ignorant? No. We are not ignorant people, but we do not give value to the right thing that deserves the value. So we value our individual comfort over the group interest. Think about it. I will say it 2 more times. We value our individual comfort over the interest of the group. This is a disease that has to be addressed. I'm sorry for using sharp words, but those are the words that you could only use to see what is under the surface. Unless you open the wound, you could never see the pus building up. So, if we start seeing that I am willing to sacrifice part of my personal interest for the interest of the group, only then we will start working as a group. If anybody sees us working as one united group, they can never dare challenge our unity. This is the power they fear the most. So Allah uses very sharp words in the Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah and die not except as Muslims. Which means live not except as Muslims. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. And stick holding together to the robe of Allah, all of you, all together, and never get into disputes and disunity. ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم. And remember the bounties of Allah upon you. إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم. When you used to be enemies fighting and killing each other, then He joined between your hearts to make you brothers, to make you one real family of believers. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, لا ترجعوا بعدي كفارا. Don't turn back into kufr after me. Don't become unbelievers or disbelievers after me. What is the sign? يضرب بعضكم رقاب بعض. Chopping the heads or necks of each other. So when we fight each other, we are doing exactly the opposite of the direction of the Prophet ﷺ. So if we do it with our hands or submit to our enemies to do it, the result is catastrophic. I was reading an article, I think it was in the Post or the Times, in which the reporter was saying that the military regime in Myanmar would gather people in a village and tell them, wait here. And they wait. And the soldier would go and call for the rest of the soldiers to come and help. Help do what? Dig ditches and throw people in the ditches and burn them alive. Men, women, and children. You think that this image could ever travel past you? We have seen the same thing 20 some years ago in Bosnia. We have seen the same thing in Chechnya. We have been seeing it in Palestine for decades. What will wake us up? What will make us want to change, if not that? If not our dignity, if not the dignity and the lives and the blood of our women, men, and children. Allah says, وَمَا لَكُمْ لَا تُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ لَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ حِيلَةً وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ سَبِيلًا. We have to remember, those people are us. Those are not somebody else's family. Those are your extended family. And when you go through trouble, you would wish anybody to do anything on your behalf. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد الواحد إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالحمى والسهر. The example of the Muslim community is like that of one body. If any part of the body aches, the rest of the body will have pain and sleepless nights. We are sleeping deep, even when we are not in bed. We're shutting our eyes off as if Myanmar doesn't have Muslims and there is no problem. And what's amazing is, most of the focus of the Muslims in the discussion is, why doesn't Bangladesh accept them? As if Muslims are supposed to be shoved and thrown out of their own land, and they kick them out and they take their passports, they take their papers, and they burn their homes so that they do not come back. And they fence the villages with barbed wires so that nobody is coming. And they surround the barbed wires with landmines. So if you try to come, you kill yourself. When do we wake up and say enough is enough? When do we say we have something to do? Now you will ask me, what can we do? You can be the voice for the voiceless. You can stand for justice for these people, as we did in Bosnia. It took us 3 years for America and NATO to move on to bombard Serbia. So even if we start now, it may take us 3 years, if we are ever successful, to move anything. But to be silent for 3 years, we are inviting those evil people to go after any Muslim anywhere, because there is no price to pay. Actually, there is no risk of anything. Who's going to speak for those people? Who's going to tell the Congress or the President enough is enough? If not us. We are sitting here in Washington, and one thing we can change is to accept atrocities committed against Muslims as mere news. It is something to read in the paper. We want once for a change to make news, as we did before for Bosnia, when about 65 or 80,000 people came from all over the nation and rallied in Washington and told President Clinton, enough is enough. We need to stand up. Why aren't we standing? We are waiting for leadership, I think. We are waiting for leadership. Like the children of Israel, ابعث لنا ملكا نقاتل في سبيل الله. You know, send us a king and we'll fight in the path of Allah. I believe every one of us should feel, I am the next leader. We should take responsibility individually until the issue is taken care of. Why? Because this is classified as where fard kifaya. What is fard kifaya? Fard kifaya is a fard on the ummah. When it is taken care of by some, then others are relieved because it's taken care of. But until it is taken care of, it becomes individual responsibility. فريضة على كل فرد. Until it is taken care of. Brothers and sisters, I know some of you are saying, why are we talking politics? But believe me, wallahi, this is our faith. Wallahi, this is the Quran. This is what you learn if you read the book. If we had stood up for Somalia when Somalia was being hit right and left, Somalia could not have descended into what it is today. Let us save the next nation by using the power of your voice to speak truth to power and to speak for the voiceless, those who are not heard because they are being killed and massacred in daylight time. If this doesn't move us to change the way we sit in our comfort zone, enjoy our family, enjoy our kids, enjoying the money we make and the jobs we have, then Allah will give us something that we don't like. His sunnah is never broken. His way is never broken. Allah has laws. And His laws are, for everything that you enjoy, there is something called zakah. As there is zakatul mal, there is zakah for your freedom. There is zakah for the dignity you enjoy. There is zakah for the liberty you enjoy. So don't congratulate yourself on freedoms and liberties you did not build, you just received by the struggle of previous generations of Americans. They gave their blood to give us the power and the freedom to challenge corruption and injustice, not to just enjoy the freedom for our own personal individual gains. We have to understand where we are, the power Allah has given at our disposal into our hands. This masjid is less than 8 miles away from the White House. If you go walking, you will reach. Who else will speak for Muslims all over the world if not us? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our heart to do the right thing. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. Brothers and sisters, as individual Muslims and as a Muslim community, as Muslim families, we can do a lot by just speaking on behalf of the oppressed and the helpless and the weak and the underprivileged. After all, this was and continues to be the behavior and the way of the Prophet ﷺ even before he became a prophet. You read this in the hadith when the Prophet ﷺ came from the cave of Hira to his wife Khadija radiallahu anha wa ardaha, and he told her that he was scared, cover me up, warm me up. And he told her what he saw and what he witnessed and what he heard. What was her response? Wallahi la yughzika Allahu abada. By Allah, Allah will never let you down. How was she so certain? She said, إنك لتقري الضيف وتحمل الكل وتغيث الملهوف وتعين على نوائب الدهر فوالله لا يخزيك الله أبدا. You are generous to your guest. You are caring for the orphan. You carry the weak and you carry the food to those who need it. And you stand with the afflicted and the one who is troubled in his life. Allah will never let you down. This is how she was certain. His manners did not qualify him to be let down by Allah, because he did all what he could to stand with those who need him the most. And he was one person. He was just one person. This is before he had become a prophet, before the revelation of the Quran and all of the guidance he got later on. This is only اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. And she was citing his manners before she knew what the revelation was. So have we become so much in our comfort zone that we are willing to give up the care of Allah? After all, وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever pleasure, bounties, blessings Allah has given you, it is all from Allah, which means He can take it away and He can give it to someone else. Brothers, wallahi, if we do not move, Allah has the threat written in the Quran. وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُ أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you turn away, if you abdicate your duty, Allah will substitute you and replace you with others who will not be like you. Definitely, it is not going to be your children. Rest assured. Because children follow on the footsteps of their parents. So if we leave a gap in the history of our ummah, a gap of helplessness, a gap of weakness, a gap of submission to other forces other than Allah, a gap of not supporting our brothers and sisters with what we can, at least being their voice, then don't expect the next generation to be better. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand our deen. Our deen is not about praying in a private place. Our deen is not about fasting. Our deen is not about throwing a charity at someone. Our deen is about manners. To be men and women of faith and to do what we have to do and to never fear anyone but Allah. وَيَخْشَوْنَهُ وَلَا يَخْشَوْنَ أَحَدًا إِلَّا اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُبَلِّغُونَ رِسَالَاتِ اللَّهِ. Those who communicate the message of Allah. وَيَخْشَوْنَهُ, and they fear Him. وَلَا يَخْشَوْنَ أَحَدًا إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and they fear none but Allah. Why are we living in fear? Fear is a prison. Why enter the prison with our own hands? Fear that is real, fear that is imaginable, fear that is irrational. Any fear we embrace. Any risk we push away. There is no paradise without a price. There is no paradise without a price. This is not my statement. This is the Prophet ﷺ. It's not my intelligence. He said, ألا إن سلعة الله غالية ألا إن سلعة الله الجنة ألا إن ما عند الله لا يؤخذ بمعصية الله. Whatever Allah is presenting for sale for you is very expensive. Whatever Allah is presenting for you is eternal life in paradise. Indeed, you can never attain entry into paradise by disobedience to Allah or abdicating your duty towards Allah. You can't. We have to work for it. We have to accept the risk of being Muslims. أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Do people think they will be left alone claiming they believe and not having any risk? There is risk. When Mus'ab ibn Umayr came to accept Islam, the Prophet ﷺ told him the price. Looking at him, Mus'ab was a wealthy man. He was a young man then, but he was wealthy, coming dressed in silk, decorated with stuff, and riding the best of horses. And the Prophet looked at him and he said, man, where are you heading? إِذَنْ يَضِيعُ مَالُكَ وَيُعْقَرُ فَرَسُكَ. Your money will be lost and your horse will be knocked down. He accepted, knowing the risk. The problem is we never were taught what the risk of being a Muslim is. The risk of being a Muslim is, once you are a Muslim, the fact that you are a Muslim will give you enemies, whether you like it or not. The mere fact that you are a Muslim, you will have enemies. This happened with people who followed Isa alayhi salam, Ashab al-Ukhdud, right? It happened to them. They were also persecuted and burned because of their faith and following Isa alayhi salam. I'm not telling you do anything unusual. Just speak for the voiceless, please. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا واجعله الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا وإذا أردت بقومنا فتنة فنجنا منها يا مولانا غير خزايا ولا مفتونين ولا مبدلين ولا مغيرين. اللهم اختم لنا بخاتمة السعادة أجمعين مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فستذكرون ما أقول لكم وأفوض أمري إلى الله وأقم الصلاة.